Amen will be Amen, but you would think Steve Kerr and the Warriors have seen every coverage you could imagine, except when a demon's out there. So maybe they'll find a way to shake Steph free and get him away from Amen. Ime Udoka spoke after practice. You'll hear the bouncing balls. He was asked about some things that have happened since they've gone exclusively with Amen in the starting lineup. Now that they're fully healthy and they have their set starting lineup, you've seen some regression in some places and some positives in others. Here's Ime Udoka on that and maybe if tweaks will be coming.
Yeah, it's been really the rebounding thing. Moving guys around to certain positions has hurt our rebounding, but we've also defended certain players very well with those lineups, and so it's something we looked at and we can tweak some things and put different players on different players. Obviously, men guarding guards and being away from the basket has hurt us some. Out ball has hurt us some, and so you can take away a few things, but it hurts you in certain areas, and so that'll be something to look at specifically matchup-wise with them.
Yeah, so if you're hiding Fred Van Fleet on a non-scorer because you want Amen taking their best scorer, and if that scorer is a wing or a guard, he's not going to be close enough to cause all that havoc on the defensive boards, grabbing them, slapping balls away from guys who think they have offensive rebounds, all the things that he does that go beyond just the regular old demon, as Sean said earlier this week.
Yeah, the league messed up.
Yeah, the league messed up letting the Rockets get that demon, and then they did it again by letting the
Detroit
Pistons get the other demon, except Detroit was next, so the league had nothing to do with it after 4. But he will, if they mimic what they did against the Warriors in their last game, he will be on Steph Curry chasing him around screens, and Steph generally isn't around the rim. So Amen generally won't be around the rim to clean up the offensive boards. You'll have to depend more on Fred Van Fleet if he's hiding on Moody to be more of a guy who's a help with the gang rebounding. It's the give and take of all that.
Or do you want Fred chasing around Steph?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Maybe in 2019. Maybe.
Yeah, he is a guy that has like experience. I don't think that there's like obviously you'd prefer Amen and even like Dillon Brooks, although he's probably going to be on Butler. But there's not like a obvious like, oh my God, we cannot let this guy guard Steph Curry. Even like Jalen Green, like I don't love him like having to chase him around screens. But if it's like a isolation scenario, like I can live with Jalen Green trying to stay in front of Steph.
But
Curry.
Steph's maybe the toughest shot maker in the history of basketball. So staying in front of him.
That's why I'm like, sure, Fred VanVleet, why not?
Yeah,
just to like what Ime is saying, to let Amen cause havoc other places.
Maybe be a roamer more than anything else.
Exactly.
I'm not that concerned about Steph blowing by guys because it's not even really, it's not really his goal. It's just that his ball handling, his ability to get you in there because you're so over aggressive because if he gets a clean look, he's likely to knock it down. There are a lot of things, and we've seen him for over a decade now do what he's done and done a lot of against the Rockets. So I think you'll see a lot of guys on him, but if they go all in on the face guarding stuff, the length of Amen, the physicality will be something we'll see quite a bit. We just assume what we saw in that game a couple Sundays ago is going to happen again. The Warriors, we'd imagine, will have ways to get him free. We played the sound earlier this week of Steve Kerr talking about how Steph is being defended. It would be now people question Steve Kerr as a coach because they just think, hey, you just roll up the ball and you let all these Hall of Famers go to work, particularly when they're in their prime. But you would think that coaching staff would find a way to not allow what happened in that game to happen throughout the series. Or maybe the haters are right on Steve Kerr, because if you can't adapt, and I get it, Amen will be Amen, but you would think Steve Kerr and the Warriors have seen every coverage you could imagine, except when a demon's out there. So maybe they'll find a way to shake Steph free and get him away from Amen. But that's to be seen.
Yeah, I think that no matter what happens, there'll be several different guys that get a shot. And
I agree.
I think it's going to be something where both coaches I trust to make adjustments here. I don't think that how they defend each other and what offense they run in game 1 will be the same as it is the last game of the series for either team really. I think both teams are going to be forced to do stuff that they don't want to do or don't normally do. That's why, like Ime talking about possible starting lineup change, like that does not surprise me at all. Watching this team throughout the season, how Ime Udoka coaches this team, like he'll bench a guy. He's not afraid to move stuff around for what he thinks is best. And then if they win this series, the next series, it might be something not completely different, but he'll adjust to that series too.
And you can see it after game 1. That's how quickly this stuff happens in the playoffs, where in a regular season, you'll give it a little runway to see if it works. And what happened in one game that doesn't necessarily translate to another. But if you get picked apart by something the Warriors do, and it's vice versa, Kuminga, who had not played in these last 2 games, the one against the Clippers and now against the Grizzlies, Kuminga may have a place for the Warriors in this series. There's some concerns, at least from the inside of that organization, about him as a player. Although they've held on to him forever, they never want to get rid of him. But there's some questions about where they think his fit is going forward. But in a game in a series where there are a lot of big athletic wings, the Warriors are deficient unless they put him on the floor. So that's just one thing we might see from the Warriors. And of course, maybe Jabari's small ball 5 more than we've seen, because the Warriors play very small and they take advantage of Alperen. These are why these series are pretty fun. You get to see the back and forth. Of course, if you're in it and you're watching your team lose, it's less fun because it's the anxiety of it all. But I'm excited to watch this team play and see if they have answers for what the Warriors provide, and see if the Warriors have none for what the Rockets do, because the Rockets are always going to be big and physical. The Warriors only can be that so much. They just don't have the guys for it.
And going, just a quick thing on them being so big and physical. The schedule for the series came out. I think it came out like immediately after
they beat the Grizz
playing game, but it is Sunday, Wednesday, and I think like Saturday for the first 3 games.
Yeah,
and then game 4, 5, 6, 7,
every
if
other
necessary, is every other day. So I think that's something that is going to be very frustrating for like us. That they'll play 3 times in a week, and then the pace will speed up a little bit more. But I also think that's something that will benefit the Rockets, just being the younger team who didn't have to play a overtime game in game 82 and then a play-in game and then this series.
Yeah, I think the Warriors had an elimination game on Tuesday. If they don't win that, what I mean by that, if they have to play a game to decide they make the 8 seed, first of all, they're not beating OKC. And secondly, I think if they're playing that game on Friday, wrap it up. They're not winning. They're not competing against the OKC Thunder in the series if they had to play 2 games.
That many games.
And then play on a Sunday, not a day, but with a day off in between. Yeah. That series is over before it begins. So that they had to win, and it took everything. Jimmy and Steph had to play great for them to win.
Yeah,
which I think maybe helps the Rockets. I'm not sure there's a lot of juice with those Warriors outside of those 2, but of course, if you have 2 great players and they play that way, they're always going to be a little bit of a threat.